Hi, everybody. It's Lisa Shield, and this is Lunch with Lisa. So, today I wanted to read you a Zen story. I love Zen stories because they always have these wonderful spiritual twists at the end of them that really make you think. So, I'm going to read you one today, and it's called A Picture of a Cat. Once at a party, a successful merchant heard that all his wealthy friends owned a drawing from a famous Zen painter who lived outside of town. So one day the merchant went to visit him. I would like a picture of a cat, he told the famous calligrapher who worked with brush and ink alone. I love cats and I want to hang a masterpiece of a cat in my home, said the merchant. This will be very difficult, answered the Zen painter. I have never drawn a cat before. Please come back in 2 years. The merchant gave him a bag of coins and said, I will pay you even more when you are finished. The 2 years passed slowly for the merchant because he was so eager to impress his friends with the new painting. Finally, the day came and he journeyed once again to the painter's house. But upon his arrival, the Zen master's wife answered the door and said he was not home. The merchant suspected that his masterpiece was not yet finished and he would return in a week. Again, the merchant visited the Zen master's home, and this time he caught him sneaking out the back door. I want my painting, insisted the merchant. But it's not ready, explained the Zen painter. Then show me what you have, demanded the merchant. The Zen master took him into his workshop and placed a large piece of fresh parchment on the table. Slowly and carefully, he mixed his ink. The merchant was confused and grew impatient, but he was curious, so he waited. Finally, the master dipped his paintbrush into the ink, and with amazing grace, he moved his arm over the parchment. In 30 seconds, with very few strokes, he produced a beautiful painting of a cat. The merchant's eyes grew large in amazement, and upon its completion, he exclaimed, It's so lifelike, a true masterpiece. He set a large bag of gold upon the table. Then his smile vanished. Why did you make me wait 2 years? He said with consternation. The painting took you only less than a minute. Without a word, the painter turned to a large cupboard standing nearby. He opened its doors, and out floated thousands of ink drawings of cats. Isn't that amazing? I love that. So, why am I telling you this, right? I'm a love coach. Why am I reading you a story about drawings of cats? Well, I want you to think of each of your dates like like one of those cat drawings that floated out of that Zen master's closet. I want you to think about every single date you go on as practice for the big one, for that moment where the guardian of your soul sits down in front of you on a date. And you may have had to draw many cats or go on many dates prior to that so that when the big moment comes, you're ready. Isn't that amazing? We think so much about the struggle, right? All of those drawings of cats to get us to that one image, that one moment in time. And we struggle through all of those dates. We make it so difficult, but it takes all of those dates, it takes all of those drawings of cats to be able to be in that moment on a date when the guardian of your soul shows up. I know for myself, I got very clear that there was work that I had to do, that I didn't know how to draw a cat, that I didn't know how to be a partner to the guardian of my soul. I wasn't quite ready for that. I had this beautiful image in my mind of what that relationship was going to look like when I got there. I knew in my heart how I would feel when I met him, but I didn't have the emotional makeup yet to be able to step into that relationship. I needed practice. And so I knew that every date I went on was a stepping stone. It was like another drawing of a cat, so that when I sat down in front of the guardian of my soul, Benjamin, I would be ready, right? I would be able to take out my pen, and within a few strokes, I would be able to draw that masterpiece. And it's true. I don't know about a lot of you, but I'm guessing that many of you have been really working on yourselves. You've been spending time listening to Facebook Lives like mine. You've been watching YouTubes, you've been reading books and going to therapy and working with wonderful mentors and coaches, just looking to glean or absorb as much information as you can. And you're preparing yourself for that moment when you sit down, when the guardian of your soul sits down, when the two of you are across from each other and you have that beautiful moment where your souls connect and you know that this is the one. And it's all of that practice leading up to that moment, right? All of those dates, all of the tears we cry, all of the rejections we face, all of the false starts, right? There's tons of false starts in dating, times where you go on dates and you're so hopeful and you think, oh my gosh, this guy is great. And I really could do this. If he's game, I'm game, right? I would love to explore this and see where it goes. So there's all those false starts because the guy doesn't want to go forward with you, or you don't want to go forward with him. And all of that is teaching you how to navigate the emotional ups and downs of opening up to intimacy. So every single challenge that you face is like one of those cat drawings, right? It's like another attempt to draw a beautiful cat. And it's all giving you the opportunity to practice so that when the right man shows up, you'll be ready. That's really what dating is about. And so many of us are focused on the goal, on the end game, on that objective of meeting our guy. And we are not really seeing the opportunities in front of us. We're so upset because things don't go right. Every time something happens and we're disappointed, and, we go online and we don't see a message from somebody we were connecting with. And then we're just like, oh, I'm done. F it. I'm out of here. I'm not doing online dating, or online dating doesn't work for me, right? That's what we tell ourselves. And then we give up. A little piece of us throws in the towel. Maybe we pick the towel back up again, but we get so tired of, going out there and walking through this stuff and facing ourselves, facing our fears, having to look at what is and isn't working. But I will promise you, if you keep going and you don't give up, you're going to get there. You're going to get there, just like that Zen master who drew that beautiful painting of a cat in a few strokes. You will get there. It will get easier. You will find that you're less anxious if you walk through your fears. If you keep going forward, you'll find yourself showing up on dates, and somehow you'll just feel more confident because you keep going forward. Now, to do this successfully, you have to learn to have a positive inner dialogue. One of the problems is that many of us are really beating ourselves up. We're not being positive. We're not being encouraging. We're not learning from each experience. And so we get upset. We keep beating ourselves up and we keep setting ourselves back. Hi, Emma. It's great to see you. So we need to keep moving forward. We need to keep learning from every date, from every experience, right? And know that there's going to be challenges along the way. There's stuff to look at. There's reasons why we don't have the relationships we want. It's really, really challenging when you think about it because most of us do so much work on ourselves. But the only real, what's important, the only thing that matters is that you're able to go on a date and sit across from somebody and really hold your own, be in your power, be gracious, be kind, be have dominion over your emotions, right? Be able not to take things personally and to be able to sit across from a man on a date and really feel um, lovely, right? That you know who you are and that you're in your power and that you're being gracious and kind and warm and you're showing this man that you actually like him. You're putting out all of that. And this comes with practice. One of the things I think that so many of you do is you beat yourself up for not knowing the things you don't know, right? You go on dates and it doesn't go well and you beat yourself up. But the truth is that you may or may not really understand how to connect with a man. Maybe you've never even really thought about how do I connect with a man on a date? Like I'm sitting across from this wonderful man, this grown up. He's a true adult male who has his act together and is somebody that you would really want to be interested in dating. And you've never even stopped to ask yourself, how do I really make a connection with a guy like that? How do I make a true romantic connection so that that man will walk away from this date and he'll think, wow, she's phenomenal. I can't get enough of her. And he won't be able to prevent himself from asking you out again. That's what you're looking for, is to have that kind of rapport with a man on a date. But most of us are just expecting that we're going to show up and it's just going to happen, right? Like that's what's weird about dating, is that we give little thought, actual thought to how do I go on a date? What do I have to be saying and doing to attract a phenomenal man? When I'm sitting across from a man who has all the things I want and he is an emotionally available man, somebody that I really think has potential, what do I need to be doing at my end in order to for that man to want to call me again and ask me out again? This is all stuff that comes with practice. It comes with going on many dates. I don't know why it is, that we think that we're just supposed to go on a date, sit across from somebody, and then it's going to click and we're going to live happily ever after without ever doing any work in this part of our lives to make that happen. That's called being a prodigy. And it doesn't work anywhere else in our lives, right? I mean, I get it. Like Mozart could sit down at the piano from when he was a little kid and create magic, but that's a prodigy. And for most of us in any area of our lives where we succeed, we have to do the work. We have to practice. I started out this conversation by reading a Zen story about a man who tried to purchase a cat, an image of a cat from a famous Zen painter. And he goes to the Zen painter and he gives him a bag full of money. And he says, I'll give you more money when I pick up the masterpiece. And the Zen master says, I've never painted a cat before and I need 2 years. And then the guy goes back and the man doesn't have his cat painting. And when he insists on the painting, the master paints the painting within 2 minutes and it's beautiful. And he said, why did you make me wait 2 years if you already had the masterpiece? If you had already, if you could create this in 2 minutes? And the Zen master opened up a cabinet and thousands of paintings of cats floated out. So he had been practicing for 2 years to be able to sit down in those 2 minutes and be able to create that masterpiece. It's the same with dating. If you're going to create a masterpiece, and most of us in our minds and in our hearts have this dream, this deep longing for unconditional love, for an extraordinary kind of relationship. But very few of us actually are emotionally equipped to have a relationship like that. It doesn't mean that we can't. Please don't get me wrong. All of us can have that kind of relationship. It's available to anyone who's willing to do the work to be able to have that. So, this is an area where we can have mastery. We can achieve unbelievable things. We can attract what I call a guardian of our soul and have an absolutely magical love life if we choose to. But it does require, for most of us, real work in this part of our lives to achieve that. And so I want you to know that this is attainable. This is attainable, but there are things that you need to know in order to make this happen. Instead of showing up and wishing for a miracle or hoping for chemistry on a date, there are things that we all need to know. So, what would some of those things be? I don't know if anybody knows what some of those things would be that we would need to understand in order to be able to attract and keep a soulmate or guardian of your soul relationship. So for me, I'm going to share some of the things that I had to learn. Men were not attracted to me at all. For most of my life, I really got very little male attention. And I woke up when I was about to turn 40. I had done so much self help work. I mean, it was insane, like one thing after another, working with, sometimes I was doing 3 different programs at a time. And I had gotten to a place where I was happier than I'd ever been in my life. I loved who I was. I had a ton of friends for the first time in my life, and really good friends, like really friends I was proud of. And there were no men. I wasn't getting asked on dates. I couldn't get a guy to look at me. And I had had relationships, but I knew that I was settling in every single one of them. And it wasn't that these were not great guys, but they were missing some key pieces that for me had to be there. And I was settling for these men because they were kind or because I needed companionship and I didn't want to be alone. And they were cute, but they really were not lifelong love material. Trust me. Even though I still think many of them were sweethearts, but they just were not the right guys for me for the long run. But I was scared. I knew that I also wasn't ready to be with that guy. I wanted to be with that guy, but if he had sat down in front of me, I would have been terrified of him. And I'm sure that plenty of those guys, I had gone on dates with many guys like that, but yeah, I just they scared me, or subconsciously I turned them off or whatever, but I wasn't ready for that. I know that because when my husband and I went on our first date, I knew that this was the kind of man I had always been looking for. I was able to see that he was remarkable, unlike anyone I had ever known. But a part of me also knew that he was in a different league. And I'm not saying that I couldn't be in his league, but I knew that this guy was like in a league of his own. And I had a talk with myself, a very conscious talk. One part of me wanted to run away because I felt like I wasn't ready for it. And another part of me said, Lisa, you have to go for this because he really, really likes you. And um, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. You'll get through it. Don't worry. but you need to go through this. You need to face this and see what's on the other side because this guy is crazy about you. And so I did. I went for it. And I guess I was ready. I was ready. It didn't mean that I was at his level. I don't think I was at the time. But the thing that I told myself was that I had grown so much and I had gone on so many dates and I had faced so many fears along the way and so many of my insecurities. And so I knew that I was ready to go for this. I was ready to give it a chance and that I was a great student. I had become a great listener and I didn't take things personally anymore, or at least many things that I had in the past. And I knew that I um, was able to communicate my needs and not be reactive. So I felt like I had grown a lot and that I was ready for the challenge, right? And I was willing to see where it went. And thank God I did because we've been together for 19 of the most amazing years I could imagine any woman ever having on this planet. And yeah, but it was all the dates and it was all the growing. It was all those cat drawings that I had to make in order to get here and be ready for something like this. So you got to do the work. You can have it, but you've got to do the work. You've got to put in the time. You've got to really, really be willing to face your fears. Yeah, Carolyn says, thank you so much for sharing, feeling very much in that space. Carolyn, I know you, honey. I know your journey. You are so courageous. And I know that it hasn't been an easy one. And I know that this is what you want more than anything. And what is so beautiful about you in particular, honey, is that you're going to get this. I have so much faith in you. And just know that it's all going to click into place. It will. Just keep doing what you're doing, honey. Show up, be courageous, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other and looking at yourself and asking yourself, how can I grow from this? What is this experience teaching me? What are the things I can take away from this? They're going to have their own growth and learning, right? And it takes two people who come together. And usually, if there's some kind of interaction, if there's some kind of emotional hook there on both sides, it means that both of you had something to learn. My ex husband, who was a pathological liar, he had his own stuff to learn, but I also had to do the work on myself. I picked him and stayed with him for 13 years. I stayed in that relationship. It wasn't healthy. I wasn't happy. I wasn't growing, but I stayed and I have to own that. I had to own my piece of this and separate and apart from him. I really figured out that he had to look at his stuff, but I had to look at why did I pick this guy and why did I choose to stay with him for as long as I did. So, yeah, it's all about growth and learning, ladies. I hate to say it. And the growth and learning that we have to do is on us. And I just had an aha moment because we have to stop trying to teach them and point out their flaws and tell them what they need to learn. Really, what we have to do is focus on ourselves and keep looking at what these experiences are teaching us. Why am I attracting men like that? Why am I saying yes to this? Why do I keep bringing emotionally unavailable men into my life? Why is it that men don't ask me on a second date? How come I'm not attracting the attention of the kinds of men I want to attract? Of course, they're out there. Of course, there were men that I would have loved to have dated. That's absolute bullshit. And you all know it. There are men, for those of you who are saying, I don't meet men I want to date, or I don't get there are no men. Where are all the good men? Whatever. I got to tell you, they're out there. They may not be attracted to you right now, or you may not be attracting them, but there are fabulous men out there. I know many of them. The truth is, I wasn't attracting them. They weren't attracted to me. And I needed to look at why that was. I needed to look at what it was about me that wasn't attractive to those men. Does that make sense? And so the growth is always with us. And the beauty, if you don't blame yourself, but you are willing to look at this and ask yourself, what is it I'm doing or not doing? How is this picture a reflection of who I'm being? Right? If you're willing to look at that and keep bringing it back to that, you will keep growing and learning and getting, evolving into the woman you need to be in order to attract the guardian of your soul. And it takes practice. It takes a willingness to be courageous and keep looking at yourself, not blaming yourself, but going to a place of self exploration. How can I open up more? How can I be kinder? How can I be more generous? Do I need to have better boundaries? Am I being feminine enough? Am I being gracious with men? Do I get excited enough? Do they feel like I'm enthusiastic about them and what they have to offer? Or do I hold back? Do I hear from men, hey, I couldn't really tell if you were interested in me or not? Could I show more interest? Do I need to speak up more? Am I asking for what I want? Am I getting emotionally naked with men? Am I giving men what they need from me emotionally? It's easy for us to say that men aren't emotionally available, but are you emotionally available? So these are all the kinds of questions I was asking myself as I dated. And that's what brought me to my husband, Benjamin. So once again, I started this out by reading a Zen story about a wealthy merchant who went to a Zen master and asked the Zen master if he would draw him a cat. And the Zen master said, I have never drawn a cat. Come back in 2 years. The merchant gave him a bag of money. He came back in 2 years and the master had no painting. And the Zen merchant was upset. He said he demanded his paintings. So the Zen master pulled out a sheet of parchment and he started drawing. And very quickly, within 2 minutes, he had drawn a masterpiece of a cat. The merchant was furious and he said, why did you make me wait 2 years if it only took you 2 minutes? And the Zen master opened up a cabinet and out floated thousands of images of cats, drawings of cats. So it took him thousands of attempts to be able to draw a masterpiece in 2 minutes. And that's what we're talking about, ladies, going on dates, not thousands of days, but being willing to really look at your interactions with men, practice, 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 so that when that guardian of your soul sits down across from you, you'll nail it, just like that Zen master did. All right, everybody, I am going to go. This was Lunch with Lisa. Oh, Carolyn came in with a question. I am so confused now about texting, not texting, so they can feel tension and chase me. Or is the whole chasing concept outdated? Carolyn, I think that's ridiculous that you should have to play games. Look at the confusion you're having over this. Imagine how a man's going to feel. No, you shouldn't have to play games to get a man to chase you. You should be your fabulous self, and the right man is going to chase you. He's going to, because he's not going to let you get away. and you don't need to play games. All right, this has been Lunch with Lisa. Thank you so much for joining me. I do 3 Facebook Lives a week. I do one on Monday at noon Mountain Time, Lunch with Lisa. I do one on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and that's called Live with Lisa. And then my favorite one of all, Sundays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and that is Getting Inside the Right Male Mind with Benjamin Shield and Lisa Shield. You will hear intimate conversations where I dive in and ask my husband questions because I think he's the most extraordinary man. He lives in his heart, and you will never, ever hear a man talk about the things my husband talks about in the way he talks about them. So please join us. Give me a heart or a thumbs up if you like today's talk, and I will hopefully see you back here again next time. Bye bye, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.